If you're new to chess, there's 3 things that you should be doing at the start of every game, and we're going to talk about them coming up. Alright, so the first thing that you want to do when you start a chess game is to fight for control of the center of the board. So specifically, these 4 squares, e4, e5, d4, d5, you want to try to control those with your pieces. And the reason why that's important is, I want to show you an example. So if I put this bishop in the corner of the board, how many squares can it control? Well, the answer is 7. It controls these 7 squares. I'm going to take the same bishop and put it in the center of the board. Now, how many squares does it control now? Well, it still controls 7 along this diagonal, but it also, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more. So you see, it's the same piece, but by the fact that it's in the center, it controls a lot more of the board. And that's going to be the same for any piece, right? If I put the knight in the corner, it controls 2 squares. Put it in the center, it controls 8 squares. And so you see the value of having your pieces in the center of the board. Well, if you don't control the center of the board, you can't have your pieces in the center of the board. So that's why it's important to fight for the center of the board. So at the start of a game, a lot of people will make moves like this, right? They'll move their pawn over here up or their pawn over here up and, you know, do some pawn moves on the side like this, and it's just kind of random. What you should be doing is making moves like this. Ideally, these would be great moves to start out your game with. Now, obviously, I'm not moving anything for black, so you have to, you know, change depending on what he does. But the general idea is try to control these 4 central squares. So most chess openings are going to start with either e4 or d4, and the reason for that is because it's immediately putting a pawn in the center of the board and gaining control of these important squares. Alright, the second thing that you want to do at the start of the game is to develop your pieces, and that just means to bring your knights and your bishops off the back rank. So normally what this would look like would be you'd move one of these pawns up, you'd bring your knight out, and you'd bring this bishop somewhere, d3, c4, b5, and then you'd try to do the same thing on the other side, move this pawn up, bring this knight out, and bring this bishop out. And this is kind of related to the first principle that we talked about. Your pieces are better in the center of the board. And so if you can move them from the edge to the center, they're going to control more and cover more squares. The third and final principle is that you want to castle before move 10. Now, this isn't always possible. Sometimes, just because of how the game goes, you end up not castling. But as a general rule, it's a good idea to try to castle before move 10. So just as an example game, if I play e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, knight f6, this is move 4, which is really early. So it's really not that hard to castle before move 10. But that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It gets your king out of the center, off to the side, and if you're leaving 3 pawns, usually your king's going to be well protected after you castle. So that's a good thing to try to think about. And it can also be on the queen side. It doesn't have to be always on the king side. You can do something like this, get your pieces out this way, and castle on the queen side as well. So those are the 3 basic things that you want to do every game. Control the center, develop your pieces, so get all your pieces off the back, and then castle before move 10. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. If you did, if you want to hit the thumbs up button, I'd really appreciate it. And let me know in the comments below if there's a topic that you want me to make a new video on. I'm always looking for ideas and would love to hear what you guys think. So thanks a lot.